Hi everyone, Vincent here. Glad you could join me today. I've been binge watching lots of videos on how to make better videos. There's so many different things to learn. I thought I would just do a bit of a kind of recap to myself to try and reinforce some of the subjects I've been learning about, and there's a whole bunch of different things. So let's go through some of the key skills that I'm paying attention to that I'm going to have to get better at. Number one, before anything else, you're going to need to think about camera equipment, right? Well, you can go down the rabbit hole of looking at all the different amazing expensive cameras out there, but very quickly you realise you don't need another camera. Like if you've got a phone, a smartphone, which quite a few people have these days, right, that's fine, that's plenty. That's absolutely all you need for your first 50 videos. The other thing that you might want to pair up with your phone is one of these tripod. Really useful. It means you can do sort of on the desk talking head style videos and set it up and off you go. But you know, looking through all these like camera reviews and everything is quite a seductive thing. So I fell for it and I bought this little action camera, the Osmo Action 4, and actually it's great. It's so much easier to use than a smartphone, and it has a bunch of good stuff. So you know, and it was fairly cheap, so I don't regret it at all, and it definitely makes things easier for me. But you don't need it, you know, it's just if you want to. Yeah, so there is one more piece of equipment that might be worth considering. We'll circle back to that a little bit later in the video. You've got your camera set up, you turn it on, you press record, then what happens? You dry up, right? The next challenge for new video creators is very much speaking to camera. I think most people find this a challenge, to be honest. In the early days, there's a few things that I tried that you can certainly try. Firstly, I just took the pressure off a bit by setting up my camera, setting it to record, and started talking to it without really having any commitment that recording was going anywhere. I was going to delete it straight away or just use it for my own like feedback to see how I was coming across. Takes the pressure off. Another thing that takes the pressure off is, which I did, is I rigged up a camera in the car so that when I was driving various places I could just talk whilst looking out at the road whilst I was driving. Takes the pressure off a bit. It's as if you've got someone in the passenger seat that you're talking to, that you're not really looking at them, and that's a great way of forgetting the camera is there and just being able to talk somewhat naturally. And this is what it's all about, is being able to talk naturally. You're not talking to an audience necessarily. I mean, the modern style is not that you're doing a presentation to an audience, unless you really want to reproduce something like a TED talk. Usually the usual kind of format for modern videos is you're talking directly to the one person on the other side of that lens. It's a one-to-one conversation. And to reproduce that, you have to sort of imagine that you've got a friend sitting across the room from you, the other side of the lens. Someone that you know, someone who's interested in the same things that you're interested in, that you're talking to about your particular subject matter. And when you're speaking, you're addressing just you, the one person, not you collectively. And that starts to make it feel a lot more natural for the viewer. And if you can do that and look at the lens when you're talking to them, you're looking then at you, the person who's on the other side of this conversation. One other thing I would caution with is if you are using a smartphone, don't use selfie mode, because in selfie mode, this is where you've got the screen pointing towards you. You just look at your face on the screen, and when you do that, you're not looking at the lens, so you're looking sideways away from the lens, and it creates this weird disconnect when you play it back, where you're looking off to the side like this, away from the lens, and that doesn't work very well. So resist the urge to use selfie mode. Turn the camera around, work out how your framing is going to sit so that you're definitely in the picture, and talk directly to the lens on the blank side of the camera. Takes away those distractions. You can more easily put it in your mind that you're talking to your friend on the other end. Quick extra thought on talking to camera. I wouldn't script up your videos and read from a script. I mean, you can do that, of course, but I think it makes it very artificial, very wooden. And unless you're a professional teleprompter reader, it's going to be obvious that you're reading from a script. I think in the modern era of informal videos, it's much better to have a loose checklist of the things you want to talk about, and then ad lib it. If you're out on a walk or sitting out somewhere with your friend, you wouldn't be reciting a script. It's a conversation. So next on the list of things to master is editing software. Now, when I started, there were a couple of different options that were free, so I would definitely recommend going with a free option to start with. You might not have to do much editing, but you'll need some software for cutting things up, joining different clips together, or trimming the dead air off the beginning of your recording or whatever. Two major desktop applications you can get that are free or have a free tier are DaVinci Resolve and CapCut Desktop. And I've tried using both of those, and they're both good at different things. So CapCut is definitely more streamlined, more immediate, more lightweight, very, very quick and easy to edit stuff together, add like fancy captions and that sort of thing. It does have problems. You can't do J cuts and L cuts very easily. It's really awkward because you have to separate the audio track from the video track, and then they can get out of alignment, so it's really clunky for that. And it has lots of features that are pro features that you can accidentally use, and then you can't export your video unless you upgrade to pro. And also, CapCut have upgraded their terms of service in an amazingly draconian way that basically grants them free access to all your footage to do whatever they want with it. It seems pretty ridiculous. So I imagine lots of people would be dropping it. And the other one's DaVinci Resolve. Now, I think that's a little bit more advanced. I've used that as well. You can do quite advanced stuff in there, like color grading and all of that. Again, it's still pretty easy to use. It's fantastic. So maybe you need a combination of both. You can do desktop capture in CapCut, which you can't do in DaVinci Resolve. Sometimes that's useful. So I can see myself going forward using the best bits of each of these. So yeah, that's editing software. So I would recommend start with DaVinci Resolve, the free version. Learn some basic editing moves like J cuts and L cuts, and then you can render out your videos into an MP4 file ready for upload to YouTube. So you've edited your video, you've got it exported into an MP4 format, you've uploaded it to YouTube. Then what do? The next thing is handle things on YouTube in order to get some kind of a starter audience. We're talking about title, thumbnail and tags. So your video on YouTube, whether people watch it or not, is highly dependent on the title you give it, which gives the viewer, when it comes up on their feeds, information about what the content is, and the thumbnail as well is a visual variation on that. And then the tags that you add to your videos and your channels gives Google, doesn't give the user information directly really, but it gives Google information about what your content is about, so that it can put it in front of what it thinks is the right audience. And in this case, you don't want to lie, you want to be straightforward, because if you mistag your content, all that's going to happen is it's going to get put in front of an audience that's not interested, and so you're going to get a very low click-through rate. You need to tag up your videos, and I've learned there's 3 places where you need to do this. You have your channel tags, where you are describing like your overall subject matter, like who your target audience is. You're describing what you're actually talking about overall, big picture. But the advice seems to be, at least when you're starting out, niche down, so your channel is about a particular subject, so that when someone finds your channel initially, they can, after one video, hop onto another one, like watch another one, binge watch, and it'll still be interesting to them. It'll still be a good audience fit. That's a bit difficult for what I'm doing, because I'm just experimenting at the moment. I'm not niching down on a particular subject at all, and I don't know, but I'm feeling like I want to gradually target a certain type of person, like the type of person who I would want to have a conversation with, who's interested in some of the same things as me, but that's a bit too vague and formless really, so I'll have to think about that as time goes on. And then for each video, you have 2 different places where you can do this. You can put hashtags in the actual video description, which is just a hash and then 1 or more words scrammed together with no spaces. But also further down in the advanced section under editing the video, you have a place where you can add tags, which is kind of the same thing, but it's in a separate field. So this is metadata about it, and you can put in multiple tags about the subject matter. What you're doing is you're telling YouTube what this video consists of, what are the important components, what are the important subjects, so that it knows who to send it to. As for the titles and the thumbnails, I mean, we're getting into marketing territory here, which is completely different to all the other skills. You need to take on a sort of marketing mindset and like a newspaper headline writing craft mindset a little bit, because most thumbnails these days have wording on there, but it's a very small amount of wording. You want to reduce it to just a handful of words, 3 or 4 words if you can, with a simple bit of eye-catching imagery, and there's got to be some kind of hook in there, and the same goes for the title. I think there's lots more to be said about this, but this is something I'm just learning about myself, and what I tend to do is just kind of imitate others. Having a title in the form of a question is quite nice. What happened when I did such and such? So you're hooking the potential viewer with curiosity. What else have I learned? Oh, I've learned about how to do intros. So I haven't done any intro stuff yet. I've just got this little bookend bit, me playing the drums that I've put on both ends of the video. But I've been learning about how you can craft that intro a little bit better by putting a little preview of what's to come, like a teaser. So rather than it being about clickbait, this is really just about making an appropriate introduction to your video so that your audience knows they're in the right place and their curiosity is roused a little bit. There are different schools of thought on exactly how you do this, but the first important thing you should think about is to imagine the viewer who's just seen your thumbnail and title of your video and click the thumbnail and it's gone through to the video, and they want to be reassured that during the first few seconds of what they see, they want to be reassured that they've landed where they wanted to land. You know, this video is about what it said it was going to be about. So it should be consistent with the title, the wording, your opening few sentences should be consistent with the title, and the visuals should be consistent with the thumbnail. The other thing you should consider for your intro is once you've established the groundwork and that you've reassured your viewer that the content is consistent with what they thought they clicked on, is to open up some kind of curiosity loop. Now this could be a storytelling device where, you know, some situation's going to resolve one way or another by the end of the video. Do we make it to the top of the mountain or do we not? Or it's information that you're giving, like 3 tips for something, a list of helpful hints for some subject, and so the viewer is going to want to follow on through to the end to make sure they've got all the information. Or you're asking a question that you're investigating and you're finding the answer to. There's some great videos along those lines in the kind of maths investigation science fields. Or you're portraying a project that the viewer will want to see the final outcome of, the final construction of whatever this project is. So some form of a curiosity hook that the viewer really wants to follow this through and get closure at the end, by the end of the video. Okay, so you've got the absolute basics down. We've got videos, we can upload them. It's time to add just the beginning steps to a little bit of finesse to make this look a little bit less amateurish. And an important first incremental improvement that you can do is by paying attention to the audio. Far more important than video quality in a way when you're starting off is audio quality. So video quality you can get away with just using your smartphone like forever. But you don't necessarily, you maybe don't want to use the mic on your smartphone because it's not great quality. It'll pick up a fair bit of the background noise and it's not right next to you as you're talking if you're doing a kind of more distant shot. So kind of the prevailing wisdom is that the first bit of kit upgrade that you do is to buy a mic of some kind. You can get like Bluetooth paired microphones that will plug into your smartphone. I've got a similar thing for this action camera that I'm recording this on. You don't need a great big expensive mic to start with. One of these little pin-on or magnet attached mics are just fine. And then pay attention to audio in the edit as well, because you can go in, you can find bits of the footage that are between where you're talking, and if there's background noise you can adjust the volume, drop the volume down, you can cut out breathing sounds, that sort of thing in the edit. This is something I'm learning how to do by adding edit nodes and adjusting the volume on the audio track. I've been doing that in CapCut, but I'm going to have to find a way how to do that in DaVinci Resolve as well. I'm sure it's very similar. What else have I learnt about? Okay, so not all my videos are just me talking to the camera in the car. So I've got loads of ideas for things to do, and some of these are going to involve creating a little bit of a set in my home office. So I'm learning about how you make that better. I think decluttering is a big thing, but again, being very intentional, doing things such as adding a little bit of colour lighting in the background, framing your foreground picture of you talking with some carefully placed background items of interest, either pictures on the wall or something relating to the subject of the video. So you'll see in video gaming channels, people will have like their handheld game consoles up on the wall, or they'll have like a stack of their game collection shelved up and looking good, or they'll have like a TV, like TVs hooked up to retro consoles running some old Nintendo game or something of interest. And like board gaming channels, they'll very often have shelved up display of different board games in the background. So some kind of set dressing furniture that's related to what you're talking about, that is there as an added point of interest. And one little tip that I quite liked was soften the edges a bit and add something natural. Have a plant, pot plant, house plant in the background, and pay attention to what you have in the foreground, preferably nothing, right, unless it's a desk with things laid out on it that you particularly want to show. Okay, where are we on the list? Number 8, lighting. Well, you can make this simpler for yourself if you're doing vlogging style videos by just doing it outside using natural daylight. I mean, one approach is to do outdoor vlogging style and just absolutely make the most of the daylight. Good times of day to get slightly more dramatic lighting and more interesting effects is just after sunrise and just before sunset. I think they call it the golden hour, when the lighting takes on a kind of magical quality and accentuates all the colours and you get these golden glow on everything. It's much better than directly overhead sunlight, which creates very harsh shadows. You know, you want more diffused light if possible. So learn to use daylight. But if you're in an indoor setting, you know, you can do what I'm doing here. I'm sitting by a window where I've got daylight, natural light coming in through the window on one side. So it creates it creates an interesting contrast from one side of my face to the other. It's nice to also have some kind of fill-in lamp and also background accent lights. To be honest, this is something I don't know much about. Maybe this is one of the next things I'm going to be looking at to work out how to incrementally improve the lighting when I do a scene. Now we're getting into the more interesting stuff. Once you've got the basics down and you've got the starter technology doing what you want. Storytelling. The art of storytelling is really important. Human beings, we interpret reality through stories. We pass on wisdom from one generation to another through stories. Stories resonate deeply with us. This is how we interpret the world, is through the framework of stories. This is how we have communicated ideas to each other for centuries. This is how we connect. This is how we find meaning. So to find a story for the video that you're making gives it some kind of purpose. So for example, I'm not actually applying any of my learnings yet. I'm just kind of blabbering here. So if I was to think about this properly, do this properly, I would have a story of discovery about me learning and applying each of these techniques, and discovering how to do each of these different things, and looking back and seeing whether it was successful or not. So when you're creating a video, even if it's something fairly simple or something instructional, it's really important to pay attention to the art of storytelling. Now this is kind of a big subject that I don't really know a huge amount about, but you can start off with the basics. you set out the scene, the initial scenario. You have some sense of a goal or a direction that you're heading towards, and then you have some kind of rising drama. You have your central character, which is probably yourself as the narrator, or maybe not. You will hit obstacles en route to your final goal, and then you will resolve those obstacles, and this kind of gradually increases until you have a final climactic situation where it's make or break, where you're circling around your final end point of your story, and then you have the final resolution and wrapping up of all the loose ends. It's good to tell stories. It makes an emotional connection with people. So try and weave some real storytelling into your videos to make it come alive, you know? So then on the other end of the spectrum, I've been learning about how to be, what's the word, more cinematic, and how to assemble a sensible shot list. So again, not for talking in the car videos, but anything slightly longer or more intentional. There's this general idea that you go from a wide to a medium to a close-up shot, but that's explained as your wide is you're establishing the context, you're setting the scene, you're showing the viewer the surroundings, where you are, and then you move on to like a mid shot where you're honing in on the actual subject of the video. And there's a couple of different ways I've seen this described. So one is where you have a flavor shot where you can get close up, or a texture shot where you can have a close in of something that shows the texture of where you are, close up on something in the landscape or the room. And then you move to the human element where you show the person who's the subject of your scene doing something, preparing, putting on shoes or something. Then you move to the human connection where, if it's that type of a video, the person is talking to you, talking to the camera, or talking to another person, or you then have that human dynamic is introduced once you've got the context. Another thing to consider with cinematics is being more deliberate with your perspective and your shot composition. A beginner will tend to, on a vlogging style video, will focus on one thing, pan around, focus on another thing from the same place. You should be getting more excited and more interested in creating unique images, framing, isolating a particular subject in the frame, and then moving to another location to isolate another subject in the frame. Taking an unusual viewpoint. Don't just always hold the camera at eye level. Take shots right down close to the ground. Get a nice unusual perspective, or high up on a stick or a tripod, some high overhead shots. Use the light, you know, position yourself with the light behind the subject for some dramatic silhouette type shots, or on the other hand, turn it around so that you've got the sunlight filling in and highlighting the subject that you're taking a photo of to bring it to life, to highlight the colour. This is quite hard actually. Now I'm coming to it to try recapping all the many things I've been told about in these various videos. So I think there's more on cinematics as well, and the overall message I'm getting is just be a whole lot more intentional about what you do when you take your shots and when you take your B-roll shots. Is to don't just point your camera around. take some time to think about the shot that you're going to take. Look for something interesting, get interesting camera angles, get excited by the process, and work out how you can make it, you know, more artistic, I suppose. Those are 10 completely different, interesting things you kind of find you have to start learning about in order to make good videos. There you go. So I'm nearly home now. I just thought I'd talk about a few of the many highly random subjects that you have to learn about as a new YouTube video creator. And I thought that might be interesting. So I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you soon.